Hey everyone, it's me, Arthur Kade, welcoming Paul Blart, Mall Cop 2 director Andy Fickman, joining us behind the Velvet Rope to, to talk about the hilarious new movie and one of the funniest movies of 2015. Hey everyone, it's me, Arthur Kade, and I'm so jealous, Andy Finkman, because we were just talking about this awesome premiere you had for your new movie, Paul Blart 2, and there were segues everywhere, and we should have segues in here while doing the interview.
I would love to do an interview on a Segway so I could just go back, come back, forward, go to the bathroom, swing by the kitchen, come back.
Like
So
ask
much
you
easier
a
than
question
walking.
and you like
That's
turn
right.
and
I
fly
would
around.
circle. Everything in life should be on a Segway. Though having taken a few Segway spills in my time, they are hard to recover from
I'm
sometimes.
trademarking that. Life is better on a Segway.
That's right. You can.
Your new movie. First of all, you're one of the biggest comedy geniuses in Hollywood. And one of the nicest guys, Kevin James. What people don't realize is this first movie was a mega hit. I mean, it did like 183 million. They had to make a second one.
You know, people always are like, "Whoa, Paul Blart was, did the first one perform?" Like the first one was huge. And to answer your question, nobody makes a sequel to anything that didn't perform. There's no movie that they're like, you know what? No one saw the first one. Let's do a second one. We'll keep doing it until someone decides to go. Universally, I think people love Paul Blart, but as you said, what makes Kevin amazing is he's also a comedy genius. He has so much heart, and on and off camera, you're rooting for this guy, and he's an underdog, and audiences love him, and it's easy, having directed him, to see why.
There is an everyday man quality with Kevin. Talk to me about, as a director, harnessing that. And, Kevin brings to Paul Blart this goofiness, this honesty. And like you said, this guy that he's the underdog, but he's just an atypical hero.
Yeah, I think that he never has lost who he was. So he's a guy who grows up, back east and, played football, became that guy, started doing stand-up comedy. I think King of Queens, that sort of working class comedy is who he is. Jackie Gleason, one of his heroes. I think, he thinks of the Honeymooners. He's never lost that, and I think that's what helps him. So when he goes into a character like Paul Blart, he's bringing a lot of who he is to that. And for a director, really, you want to harness the fact that if you can capture a tenth of his real life personality, you're doing great. And for him, he brings it all. He leaves it on the field, take after take.
There's another character in this movie, and it's Las Vegas.
Yes.
And Steve Wynn got involved
Yeah.
because he was such a big fan of the first one.
Yeah.
Talk to me about using Vegas and using that landscape to bring not only the story to life, but the comedy to life.
Yeah, you wanted, the goal probably wasn't to go to another mall. The goal would be like, okay, I think malls, we understand that. But if you take a guy who's only patrolled a mall and you put him in a location like Las Vegas, specifically the Wynn Encore Resorts, which have never been filmed in before.
That's crazy.
And the fact that we had access from the basement to literally the roof. And also in real life, Mr. Wynn has a massive art collection there. And so if you're doing an art heist movie, rather than coming up with a plot that's where would they have an art heist happening, that's where they have art. And Vegas, as everyone knows, is where so many conventions take place. Every day there's a different convention. So the believability of having the security guards have a convention there, along with the art, it all worked. And as a backdrop, because it had never been filmed at that resort before, you really got the best of all worlds. You could point a camera at something and say, it's not like you're going to go, how many times have we shot in front of, the Statue of Liberty? This is all very fresh for us, and it really helped, I think, elevate the movie.
There's so much physical comedy. And the thing is with Kevin, you look at him and listen, the guy's not Brad Pitt. He's not, 6 foot, lean, six pack.
Right.
He's a bigger
We call
guy.
that an Andy Fickman look.
Right.
But if you want to go with Brad Pitt, I'm comfortable with that. I'm good. Sometimes Brad Pitt, sometimes Andy Fickman, but we'll go with Brad Pitt because you already recorded that.
As a director, is it challenging when you're dealing with all that physical comedy, segues flying in the air, Kevin flying in the air? What's that like as a director to bring that to life?
You know, what you count on is that you have an actor willing to be game. If they are fearful of the physical comedy, it's going to show. And much like when I directed The Rock in Game Plan, A Race to Witch Mountain, Dwayne is physically comfortable throwing himself into that comedy. Kevin is the same way. Kevin doesn't look at it and fear comes over. Kevin looks at it like, okay, how are we going to do this? And he thinks physically, so there's something really wonderful about that, and it means the sky's the limit. So you're not limited by, oh, I think this is funny, but I don't think my actor would be able to do it. Kevin will come in and look at the set and be like, okay, let's move that chair over there and let's see what happens. And we just never turn the cameras off. Sometimes you can only get it in one take.
Could probably be their own movie.
Yeah, yes, I think that they are. That's.
Do you know what's funny right away? So when you guys are filming this, can you translate right off camera? Do you know, hey, this is going to be a moment where the crowd really engages?
I think over the years, especially, when you do have a TV show on the Disney Channel, Liv and Maddie, and for families, and, you film in front of a live audience, they tell you if it's funny like that. Last time I was in New York, I was doing Heather's the Musical. They tell you, the audience will let you know it's working or it's not. You do a film, it's a crew, and everyone's got to be quiet. So you learn to trust your gut over the years. And I think for me and for Kevin and our team, you would sort of know, like we would think that's funny. And sometimes you're wrong. Sometimes the things that you think there's no way it'll ever get cut, the first time you put it in the editing room and you look at it, you're like, not nearly as funny as I thought it was. But we've been pleased once we started testing the movie. My game is always, did I think it's funny? Then the audience should laugh now. And when they do, you're like, okay, then if this is right, then in 3 beats, here they go, that's the next laugh. So I think you kind of have to trust your gut, especially when you're directing this type of comedy.
And this type of comedy, what's fascinating about it, you're not dropping F-bombs. This is as clean as it gets. And the one thing I admire about Kevin is from the beginning of his career to now, he's been all about clean comedy. Yeah. I don't think he curses. And I know he said that he wants his 4 daughters or his 4 children to be able to watch a movie that he makes. Talk to me about, really incorporating that family friendliness into the movie.
I think you have to, my son just turned 18, and I think that over the years making movies, when I did Reefer Madness, I didn't do Reefer Madness assuming that was something when he was in preschool he would go see. But for other movies like this, I think when you think like I'm going to do a family-friendly movie, as a dad, I've seen movies for my kid that I just, hated for myself. As an adult, I was like, I'm so bored. So I always set out to do, like, if I'm going to have family movies, I want it to be something that the parents are laughing and having a good time, and the kids. Kevin, I think, thinks the same way. And when you're on set, especially in Vegas, you want to make sure that, like, okay, let's not point that way, let's point this way, and not everyone needs to come in dressed like a showgirl. Let's add some modesty to it and make it comfortable so parents don't have to figure out, like, they got to cover the eyes of a kid or they have to explain something to a kid. So I think as long as you go in with that attitude from the very beginning, it's really easy. And for comedy, I like movies of every genre. I like movies of every rating. I can watch an R-rated movie and laugh from head to toe. And I think comedy is such that you can always find an alternate way of saying something without dropping an F-bomb or without saying something that just for the sake of, I just said it to get the laugh. I think there's all kinds of clever ways that you can work.
Reason 4,000 why I should not be a director, because I would have everybody dressed as showgirls in my movies.
By the way, I was always dressed as a showgirl. So when I said not everyone has to be, what I should have said was I am the only one dressed as a showgirl. Therefore, I don't need competition. Who needs the competition?
Dude, congratulations. It's a hilarious movie, and I really love seeing this guy brought back to life. Paul Blart's a gem.